In today's video, we're going to be talking about how some of the things you might be doing to protect yourself may actually be making your health anxiety worse. Hi everyone! Today's video continues a series of videos that I've been doing on health anxiety and developing an understanding of where health anxiety comes from. In today's video, we're going to be talking about some of the things that we do to try and protect ourselves or keep ourselves safe with regards to our health, and how these things might actually be playing a role in causing or maintaining health anxiety fears. But before I get into that, just a couple of disclaimers to go over. I'm a registered psychologist in the province of British Columbia, Canada, and this video is for informational purposes only. It is not intended as a substitute or replacement for advice from your doctor or mental health professional. Now, with those things out of the way, let's start talking more about health anxiety. In a previous video, I talked about how past negative health experiences can contribute to a person feeling a heightened vulnerability with regards to their health. Things like having family members experience a serious illness, or you having experienced a serious medical problem yourself, or even having a family member with health anxiety. These types of negative health experiences can contribute to a person feeling more anxious and vulnerable about their health, almost feeling like they're at greater risk of something bad happening. So, if you have this heightened sense of vulnerability regarding your health, think about how that might affect you and think about how you might respond. Whenever we feel like we're in danger, it's natural to want to engage in behaviors to do something to protect ourselves. It's natural to want to take steps to be safe and protect ourselves. So, if I'm feeling anxious and vulnerable about my health and the possibility that I might experience some serious medical condition, then it only makes sense for me to take some steps to try and protect myself or keep myself as safe as possible. Now, there's two common ways that people tend to do this in health anxiety. The first is developing rules and assumptions about health, and the second is increasing their sensitivity to health or health-related symptoms. So let's start by first talking about common rules and assumptions that people will hold on to that tend to make health anxiety worse. The first thing I'll say about this is that we all tend to have rules and assumptions about various aspects of our lives. For example, I might have a rule that I need to brush my teeth twice a day, otherwise I might get cavities or other dental problems. This is probably a pretty good rule to follow. But rules and assumptions are only helpful as long as they're realistic and flexible. In this example, it's fairly likely that if I don't brush my teeth regularly, I'm going to experience some dental problems. So that rule is realistic. But it's also important that the rule is flexible. So my goal might be to brush my teeth twice a day, but I also recognize that it's not the end of the world if I miss brushing my teeth once in a while. I can be flexible about that. So rules and assumptions aren't in and of themselves bad or unhelpful. They only become problematic when our rules and assumptions are either inaccurate or completely rigid and inflexible. And this is where health anxiety comes in. At the core of health anxiety, people often have unhelpful rules and assumptions about themselves, their health, the healthcare system, and medical professionals. These rules and assumptions can then contribute to high levels of anxiety about health. And these rules and assumptions are often inaccurate and rigid and inflexible. So, some common examples of health rules that might contribute to anxiety are things like any bodily symptoms or changes need to be taken seriously. I have to report any unusual body sensations to my doctor. In order to be healthy, I can't have any physical symptoms. If I do have any physical symptoms, I need to have a diagnosis in order to move forward. My health rules can also relate to medical professionals. Things like, my doctor must be certain about what's going on with me, or my doctor should be able to explain all of my bodily sensations that I'm concerned about. Those are all examples of health rules. People also have a lot of assumptions about their health, including things like any symptoms of pain, discomfort, or bodily changes are signs of a problem. If I don't pay close attention to health symptoms, it could kill me. If my doctor orders a test, then it's a sign that there's something wrong. If my doctor doesn't know exactly what's going on or what the problem is, then it must be something grave and serious. If my doctor can't assure me that everything is okay, then it must mean that there is some underlying serious problem. If I don't have regular checkups or testing, I could miss something really important that's going on in my body. If I'm not hyper aware of what's going on in my body, if I'm not paying a close attention, there may be an underlying problem that could be getting worse. If I don't keep persisting or checking in with my doctor might miss something really important. So those are all examples of assumptions that can often take place in health anxiety. And sometimes people can have both rules and assumptions about their health at the same time. So for example, if my doctor can't tell me exactly what's going on, then it must be serious and I need to have further testing and further investigations. If I have a mole that I'm concerned about, I have to keep measuring the size of the mole, otherwise I won't know if it's growing or getting worse. Doctors are human, they make mistakes, they miss things, and so what that means is that I need to see lots of different doctors until I get a clear sense of exactly what's going on. Now, sometimes when I discuss these rules and assumptions with my clients, they can relate, but then question why they hold these rules and assumptions. And doesn't everyone think the same way? Now, it's important to remember that past experiences can play a role in developing these rules and assumptions. For example, if my mom was really anxious about her health when I was growing up, think about how some of her behaviors may contribute to me developing certain rules and assumptions about health. Any minor health complaint, any sniffly nose, any minor growing pain would trigger multiple trips to the doctor and lots of time worrying about it and lots of time looking up information about it, even if the doctor assured her that nothing was wrong. These types of negative health experiences and associated heightened vulnerability to health and health-related concerns set up a person to develop these unhelpful beliefs and assumptions about their health. Again, the whole purpose of these beliefs and assumptions are to try and keep myself safe, but all they're really doing is focusing on negative aspects of health, likely making my health anxiety worse. So one thing I often encourage clients to do is to think about what the rules and assumptions they hold about their health, and what are some of the experiences that may have contributed to developing these rules and assumptions. So it's important to think that through and to think about where did these rules and assumptions come from? What might have triggered them? Now, the other thing that people do to protect themselves in the context of health anxiety is to be more sensitive and more aware of any health-related symptoms or health-related matters. And this is usually done by increasing focus and attention to a particular physical sensation that the person is concerned about. And what tends to happen is that the more you pay attention to a particular physical sensation or symptom, the more intense that physical symptom or sensation gets. For example, as you're watching this video, you're paying attention to what I have to say because that's what seems to be the most important and relevant information being presented to you at this time. What you're probably not noticing is the feeling of the shirt you're wearing. The parts of your body that the shirt is touching versus the parts of your body that your shirt is away from. The texture of the shirt against your skin, the weight of the shirt, the sound that the shirt makes as you move, the feeling of the shirt as it slides across your skin as you move. But now that I've pointed out some of these things, you might be more aware of the sensation of your shirt on your body, whereas 30 seconds ago, you didn't even notice it. Now, as you pay attention to it, the sensation of the shirt is much more intense and noticeable. Think about how this might relate to health anxiety. For most of us, we don't typically pay much attention to minor aches and pains or our general physical functioning, like our heart rate or how much saliva I'm producing or the weird creaks and cracks of my joints. We just kind of accept that our bodies are like cars, sometimes running fine, other times making weird creaking noises, but for the most part, they get us back and forth to where we need to go, and as long as we take care of them with routine maintenance. However, for someone with health anxiety, they perceive that their health is at risk, that their health is under threat. And so they increase their sensitivity to any signs of danger or threat or health problems as a way of protecting themselves. So what happens with health anxiety is the person becomes more sensitive or tuned in to any concerning signs or symptoms, and then pays close attention to those signs and symptoms in their body. And the more they pay attention to those physical sensations, the more intensely they notice, and the more intensely they experience the physical sensations, which then just triggers even more anxiety or concern because the physical sensation seems to be getting more intense. Additionally, the more you pay attention to the physical sensation, the more you notice unusual details of the sensation, and that gives you even more to worry about. For example, if I'm concerned about having throat cancer, I might pay close attention to what it feels like when I swallow. But when I pay such close attention to my swallowing, I notice that it feels a bit more challenging to swallow, almost unnatural or difficult. So what I do is I try swallowing again while paying attention to it, which just reinforces that unusual feeling that I'm noticing. But what's really going on here is that swallowing in and of itself is a bit of an unusual sensation if you actually pay attention to it. But if you're not paying attention to it, it doesn't feel like anything unusual at all. So if you notice that you're highly anxious about particular physical sensations or symptoms, think about what those symptoms are, how often you're checking on them, and how much time and effort you spend focusing on them. But also think about what you notice as you pay so much attention to these sensations and how the sensations may actually seem to get stronger the more you pay attention to them. Now notice, it's not the sensation that's getting stronger necessarily, but it may just be that you're so focused on it. And so this is where our model of health anxiety stands at this point. In the previous video, I talked about how negative health experiences like a family member's having an illness, the death of a loved one, negative information in the media or on the internet, how these negative health experiences can lead me to having an increased sense of vulnerability about my health. I see myself at risk that something bad is going to happen to my health. And in response to this, I attempt to protect myself and to protect my health through using these various unhelpful rules and assumptions that we talked about earlier in today's video. But I also then increase my sensitivity to signs or potentially concerning symptoms. I become highly tuned in to any signs of potential threat or danger to my health. And so all of these things lead to increased susceptibility to developing health anxiety. So these are the risk factors. These are what we call predisposing factors that can leave a person vulnerable to developing health anxiety should they experience a trigger. And in future videos, I'm going to be talking about some of the types of things that may trigger episodes of health anxiety, the various triggers that may activate this health anxiety that's just under the surface, waiting to be unleashed. So I hope you'll keep an eye out for those videos in the coming weeks and months. I'd love to hear any questions or thoughts you might have about this, so please leave me some comments in the comments section down below. If you've been enjoying my videos and would like to see more, please hit that subscribe button and notification bell, and you'll be alerted every week when I post a new video. So that's all for today's video. As always, thank you for making it all the way to the end of this video, and I will see you in the next one.